Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm joined by Amor Towles, Ben Vanstone, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and Ewan McGregor.
Hello.
So, Amor, how does it feel to see your book off the page?
Well, it's deeply satisfying, of course. I mean, but it's particularly anytime as a writer that you work a number of years to create a book, you hope that it finds its readership, but then to have anybody interpret it and translate it into visual medium is exciting, but to have a group of such high caliber doing it is a whole nother measure. And I mean that not simply this threesome here. I mean, I couldn't be happier to have you and Mary and Ben involved, but everybody, Victor on the sets and the head of costume, the head of props. It really is an incredible expression of excellence in craft.
Yeah. Ben, why was this something that you decided that you wanted to pursue?
I mean, I loved it from the get-go. It came to me in 2020 in lockdown. So there were certain elements that resonated, should we say. The notion of sort of your world becoming, just one building, was very prevalent in my life. But more than anything, it was, this extraordinary character of the Count and how, with everything being taken away from him, finds this new life in the hotel. And in many ways, sort of, it's not the life that he wanted to lead, but it's the best life he could lead. Yeah. And at the end, I don't feel like he'd change anything about it.
Ewan, how did you get involved?
I spoke with Ben about it early on, and I can never remember if I read our script. Was it just one script?
One script, yeah.
So I read the pilot, and then we had a long chat on Zoom, and got on very well. And the you've written it so beautifully that the character was very alive to me from that one script. And then we talked about the rest of the story, and then of course I had the great pleasure of reading Amor's novel and knowing, while I was reading it, that I was going to play the Count was a great, there's no read as heightened as that. And you're like, And, that was it. That was everything I needed to know to play him was given to me by these two gentlemen over here. So it was just a great gift. Yeah.
Mary, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, Ewan was reading the novel. He was already attached to play the Count, and I was so excited for him because he was clearly just falling more and more in love with it with every page, and he was so enthusiastic. And so I was just like so excited that he was going to get to play this incredible role. And then he started just dropping me little hints, when he would be turning the pages and he would go, oh, who's this lady who's just entered the scene? So he just kind of was letting me know it might be something of interest for me to check out. And but of course, it was just like a collaborative effort of like, is this the right thing? Am I the right person for this? And how do you see this character? And I was just very lucky at the end of the day that everybody kind of felt it was the right thing, because it was just the most incredible experience to be a part of.
Yeah. Ben, and how did the two of you get connected, and how was collaborating? Because Amor, you're an EP on the show.
I mean, we spoke early on, didn't we? But we didn't, we sent drafts back and forwards and spoke about the characters and the story, but right from the get-go, Amor was just really generous and just said, I mean, I think you'd been with it for quite some time by the time I came on board, and he said, just go and do what you need to do to get it made.
I was invited to speak with Ben before he came on the project, and that was great because we had a sort of a chance to sort of talk about how he saw the story, how I saw the story. But then I think more importantly, once he joined, because this was not required anyway, Ben reached out and said, listen, before I really dig into writing episode 1, I want to spend some time with you on Zoom to interview you a little bit about the book. What about Russia that's not in the book should I know? What about the hotel that's not in the book should I know? What about the Count that's not in the book should I know? And to sort of to help sort of him begin the process. And Ewan did the same thing, reached out and said that I want to talk to you before we start shooting, before I start thinking about the character in fine detail. And that was a gift to me as the writer, because that was not necessary for either of these gentlemen to do that. but it was confidence building for me as the author, and I think helped make it a more true to the story, I guess.
Yeah, and it totally made sense to do so, because we always wanted to make sure that we honoured the novel. It was about trying to, you can't do everything exactly the same as it is in the book, but what you want to do is capture the spirit and heart of that novel as closely as you can in the adaptation.
Well, and Ewan, for you, how was it kind of building the Count? Obviously, this is a very beloved novel. You obviously had conversations with everyone, but, there's a lot going in, and you get to play him over a span of such a period of time.
Yeah, I didn't really think about, or I didn't think about how beloved the character was or the novel until afterwards. And I think that's just like that's a subconscious trick the actor employs, to not be pressured. I really didn't think about it. I just was excited to be playing him, and I was so all my focus was on that, and also the world we were building. There's a beautiful heightening of the world inside the hotel that I really liked, and I liked the way we built all of the character, everything about it had a special flavor to it, I think. And how we had some great rehearsals with Sam Miller, a great director of the first and last blocks of the piece. We did some really nice sort of cast build, like icebreaker, a bit like drama school with the cast, which was great. Some of which were really profoundly important. We did a movement class that I didn't imagine when we started this movement class I was going to have such a major breakthrough moment, but I did when we had a movement teacher. We were just meeting each other in the space, all the cast, without words, but interacting with each other physically. And then as the exercise went on, we would get older because the piece spanned so many years. And although we didn't have all the scripts yet, we all knew our storylines because we'd all read the novel. And it was interesting for me because I became quicker and more sprightly and sort of younger as I got older because of his circumstances. When the Count sort of is able to finally shed the weight of being a Count and becomes a man and a husband and a father, and finds a family with the people in the hotel, the staff of the hotel, he becomes a man, and he's looking after a daughter who's up at the top of the stairs. So he's always running up the stairs and running down to get to his job. And so as I get older, I get more sort of sprightly, And this one exercise, which was a wonderful exercise for the cast to get to know each other, taught me a lot about how I was going to age the Count, And we never wanted it to become a prosthetic show, and we wanted the aging to be true, but also subtle, so that it wasn't really something that you, the audience, would be aware of. So that was a wonderful journey with the makeup department and the costume department and the acting department. It was really cool doing that and making it subtle, I think.
Well, and that goes for your mustache. That was all you?
There's nothing subtle about that, darling. Yeah, I got little, because I have to have one of the ends snipped off. I think you will have seen that. It was all my moustache except for these two tiny curly ends that we had that we would stick on. And we had different versions of them. The unkempt one, when I just wake up. The tonged one. But the moustache was mine because I just knew it was such a long job. And I've worn I don't know how many of you have worn a stuck-on moustache, but it's a nightmare. You can't really use your lip, because if you smile, it pings off, And I just knew that I couldn't be driven mad by this thing for 6 months or whatever. So I grew my own, yeah. And then we had to we used that to tell the passing of time. Sorry, I'm going on. We used that to tell the passing of time because we wanted to make it, as I get older, narrower. And my grandfather, Laurie Lawson, who passed away when I was only 9, but he had a very thin moustache, and I felt like him when I was the Count in the later years, because he swept his hair back and he had a narrow moustache, and I wanted to achieve that look for the Count, and that meant we had to shoot it in order, pretty much, because you can't stick it back on once it comes off.
Did you miss it? Do you miss it?
This is how quickly it came off. We the last. I don't know how many of you've seen all of it, or I don't want to spoil anything. But there's a scene. Our last scene of the whole shoot was an exterior scene in the snow outside of a hospital. And the second we finished that shot, we said, "Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. We are series wrapped." Everyone hugged each other in the street. It was like early in the morning. We're all so thrilled to have finished the show. And I got in a car, got to the makeup trailer, and whipped it off straight away. It was like it was gone within minutes. Yeah. I'd had it for a long time. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned makeup and costume, but the production design on this is absolutely incredible. What was it like, the filming process, like in like, the kind of like, because it was a soundstage, right? The hotel,
So
which is
that was-
crazy.
That was, I mean, it's our designer, Victor Malero, sort of very brilliantly designed the main hotel and the attic spaces, but he also found lots of locations around sort of Liverpool, Manchester, Leeds, which funnily enough can double for Moscow a little bit. Bolton. There's a town hall in Bolton that is a exact copy of the Bolshoi. Pretty much, apart from just one bit at the top. And Victor sort of designed into his sets elements from these real locations. So it just means that our hotel is incredibly expansive. You can't quite tell when we're on the sound stage and when we're on location. So he did a brilliant job with that. But yeah, that was all. But the majority of the filming was on a big set. We kind of we had to go very quickly with this show because once Ewan said yes, we were making it, but we didn't have a design. So Victor designed a hotel in pretty much 2 weeks. He designed the bare bones of that, and we started building it as he was still doing the final drawings. We didn't, So this was very much. Yeah, we got it built and we started filming on it, which was a great relief. And then it was just a wonderful space to have, to always go in there every day. And the sort of the set deck in there where it was so detailed, every little piece, you felt like you're inside a hotel, right? So you no one had to pretend in there.
Mary, so after you got all of the hints that you should play Anna, how was it getting on board? Because I think Anna, I know you guys, if you've watched more, you get more of Mary's wonderful character, but she has, probably one of my favorite arcs in the show, going from this like young ingenue to getting older. How is it kind of playing this character and for the two of you to get to work together again?
It was amazing. I mean, obviously, similarly, I had a great starting point with the novel and this amazing, brilliant character that Amor wrote. But then I got to kind of discover more and more about her through Ben as well, and as the episodes as they were coming, and I similarly started with, I think, only reading the first 2 episodes, so I really didn't know where you guys were going to take this character. If you were going to stick really close to the novel or where she was going to go. So every new episode that came in, I was like, oh my God, this is so interesting. Oh, wow. So I felt really lucky that I got to kind of dive deeper into who she is and kind of peel back the curtain a little bit on her kind of inner life and how she feels about her own situation and her career and all those things. And to get to do that with this group of people, and especially with my partner, was just the most amazing thing. I think we all felt, I mean, I can speak for us at least, that this was like just the luckiest production that we've, for in terms of us and our experience and our happiness as artists and people that we've had in a really long time. So I'm really grateful for it.
Well, and I think what's so great is, I don't want to get too spoilery, but like the Count and Anna's story, I think is so beautiful in the ways that it kind of like ebbs and flows and also isn't like a traditional relationship, which I think is so much about the heart of the show. Is it's so much about chosen family, which I think is so beautiful. How was it kind of like creating that relationship together? Because it's just so fun. I have a line I'll tell you later that I don't want to say out loud right now because it's like too late in the show. But yeah, how was it like working and putting the Anna and the Count relationship together for the two of you?
It was so beautiful and fun. I mean, the early episodes, it's just so fun and funny and, it's flirtatious and then it's also really, hot and cold and kind of fierce in the way way that she treats him and flirts with him and leaves him behind. And it was just so like delicious and fun to get to do that. And then as time goes on, it's just really beautiful and heartfelt. And I always love to play people like that who start out really brash and kind of guarded, and then by the end kind of go, God damn it, you've broken me down. And she is like the best kind of epitome of that. And to get to do that together was just the best. I don't know what you think about it, but
Yes. Yeah. She's a very modern. That was the beauty of it. Is she's such a modern woman, and it was such brilliant. I mean, such lovely moments in it where we get to discuss. You know, as an actress, there's a moment where she meets a new young actress, and she's giving her the advice on how to survive in this how to survive the men in this industry, and there's very modern topics that are discussed, which is beautifully put in there and beautifully played by Mary, but also the arc for Anna, you know, where you started with her and where we end the story with her is like really quite breathtaking. It's really brilliant. Yeah.
Well, I think the one thing that I think is so interesting about the Count is his unwavering positivity in the light of so much like adversity, you know, and is so generous with everyone around them, around him, you know, and I think that also goes so much into him becoming a father figure to these brilliant child actors who you guys worked with, who
lovely.
both of the actors who played Nina and both of the actresses or played Sophia as well. How was it working with them? Because like they're just so good.
Yeah. No, amazing. I mean, amazing.
Yeah.
The relationship with Alexa, who plays the young Nina, was very much like it is in the show. I mean, like she is.
That's who she is.
That is,
That
yeah.
she's sort of really. I mean, she's something, isn't she? She's sort of. We were doing ADR and you know, this recording after. You know, I'm sure you all know what ADR is, but recording extra lines after the show had finished, and we were in the booth, and you're like, Alexa, do you need to take a break? She's like, do you need to take a break? I'm just like, okay, we'll keep going though. She had this sort of spirit in her that we saw from the get-go. And then the others, we cast Billy first, and she was just unbelievable, who plays the little Sophia. And then her sister turns out is an incredible actress as well. So we've got these two girls that look so similar as well and have similarities in their expressions. And yeah, they're really quite extraordinary.
And you get to have so many incredible moments with so many people in this cast because of obviously the Count's relationships over this period of time. You know, how is it working with all these actors and developing these relationships and just watching them go deeper and deeper? I think about Osip a lot,
Yeah.
especially like
Johnny,
when they're watching
It was
It's a
amazing.
Wonderful Life
I mean,
together.
that was the beauty for me. Was I was pretty much in all of it all the time. So I was sort of like the through line, and the other actors would come in, and then some of them would go away for a while and come back, and that was a great joy for me because they're all such brilliant actors to play with, you know. And the way that we shot it, and the way that we rehearsed it, and the way that it was really satisfying for the actors. We really felt used and creatively, you know, involved. And it's sadly not always the case, although it should always be the case. And so this was it was real excellence for the acting experience, and with these great players, you know. And yeah, Johnny was great. That was a really interesting
That's a great
relationship. It's a great
relationship.
relationship, and it's amazing to watch him in the show because he's so like locked into himself in the scenes. But when you see the show, I can see what he's doing. You know, it's really genius how he's allowing little bits of his inner life to come through. You know, which is wonderful. We're just lucky with all of the actors, really.
Yeah, well, and you guys obviously create such a family unit. How is kind of working with everyone who like works in the, you know, the hotel, because there's like so many fun things. Like I think it's like the New Year's party, and there's just so many like fun little like moments that you guys all share together, and which just shows the deepening of like when they're sending people's children off and like going to school and stuff. And I think it just really shows what a family the hotel becomes, and that the Count is the nucleus of it all.
All our like, you know, background artists in the hotel, the bellboys, the receptionists, the waitresses, they were a part of it, the family too. You know, they were there they got a chance to do what we did. They get older as the series goes on, but they were a working part of our experience day to day, which was amazing. And that's, I think, what creates that specialness too, because you can see the same faces in the background all the time. It's really nice.
Yeah, that's what you noticed about hotels in the first instance, wasn't it? When
Yeah.
you sort of came up with the idea that you kept seeing the same people. Was that the...
Yeah, what Ben's talking about is I was in a former life, I was in a career where I would stay in a hotel in Geneva every year for a week professionally. And one year I arrived at the hotel and I recognized a guy in the lobby from the year before. It was like he had never left. And I thought, oh God, can you imagine if that guy, he probably lives here and what would that be like? And that's when I, in the elevator on the way upstairs, I was like, oh, that's an interesting idea for a book. A guy gets trapped in a hotel for a long period of time. That's the beginning.
Wow.
That one sentence. Yeah.
Oh, I never heard that. That's
Yeah.
great, yeah.
There you go.
Ben, for you, what was it thinking about, obviously there's so much to work with. How was it like kind of thinking about how you wanted to structure the show in terms of like, obviously so much time passes, but, picking and kind of choosing how to like kind of put that together?
I mean, the really big decision was making sure that we followed the basic structure of the novel in terms of the time jumps. I really didn't want to turn it into something linear. I wanted to keep that sort of epic feel by moving through these big chunks of times. I mean, some episodes it's can take place over the course of a day, but others sort of, I think one of them 7 years. So that was the biggest decision. And then after that, it's about marshalling those character journeys across the series, as well as sort of making sure you're delivering an episodic hit. Every episode should have a sort of unifying themes or story which takes you through that episode, but also pushes on all the characters as part of this sort of broader epic story. I mean, that was, and also making sure we kept treated history in the same way. I mean, the novel does this great thing of, you experience history from inside the hotel, and you get these little footnotes, sort of slightly sort of dry footnotes from another character within the novel. I wanted to keep that sense of that history isn't overwhelming the story; it's just coming into the story, and we experience it through this sort of life inside the hotel.
Yeah, and I think you can even see that again, like the production design, like the pictures of Stalin and stuff like that. I think it really like shows it as well. I think one other thing that's really interesting is kind of why did you guys decide to kind of avoid accent work?
Ah, yeah. I didn't. Well, we didn't all. It was like from the get-go. This to me was always a kind of a fairy tale or a fable, or and it had a heightened sense to it. They were all talking English rather than Russian with subtitles. So as soon as you sort of make that leap, it doesn't make any sense to me to put everyone in sort of Russian accent speaking English, because none of that makes any sense. So you just sort of allowed the actors to choose the accent they wanted to speak in more than anything. And in the main, that was people's natural accents, but some people had slightly different accents as well. But on the whole, it was wanting our characters to be as truthful as possible. I just think dodgy Russian accents would get in the way of that.
Well, yeah, and then how was it kind of developing, like how you guys wanted to speak instead?
It was quite interesting with Sam, because I think Sam was very keen for me to use my own accent, and I'd come to when I'd come to start work, imagining that he should sound the way that I think he sounds here, and we did. It was an interesting couple of days, because I thought, oh my God, maybe I've got it all wrong, and I did try. We tried reading the scenes in my own voice, but I did feel like he had to feel like a sort of an odd one out there. He had to be an aristocrat. He had to be in the hotel somebody that is the only one of his kind. There's nobody else in that hotel from there. Well, apart from our prince, of course. But I just felt like he had to, in the same way he's sort of slightly old-fashioned as fuddy-duddy clothes. He had to sort of, and so that it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like the Count when I did it in my accent. And so yeah, I think it was at first it was the first few weeks we sort of found, Sam would be saying, okay, bring it back a little bit, or we found his sound in the end, which is which is nice. It's not like the Queen or something, you know, or the Crown. Sorry.
Mary, what about you?
Yeah, for me, I think, going from that sort of philosophy, I think Anna could have been great with an American accent, but there is a storyline that comes in later involving America, and my character speaks a lot about America, so it didn't quite feel right to have an American accent for that to make sense. So we kind of settled on a sort of broad British, but wanted it not to be posh like Ewan, so that there would be a sense of a different class between them. And she is more modern and a bit more loose, which also just gave me the freedom to not be so worried about it, because she just don't know where she's from. She doesn't tell anyone where she's from. She makes things up as she goes along anyway. So that was just really liberating for me to be like, yeah, she has a sort of vague British accent, let's go with that.
Well, and I think one thing that finishing the series is it does feel so timely in so many different ways. How is it like shooting and kind of thinking about the world, I guess, like, because it does feel like, it just feels like very timely with so many of the different messages that it has in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were still in the writing process when Russia invaded Ukraine. And sort of as you're writing these stories about sort of the rise of Stalin and the effect on the people of Russia, let alone the people outside, for that instance, it felt very resonant and heartbreaking. I think that there are some people in Russia who are also victims, as well as people outside Russia. They are, it's an autocratic, brutal regime that doesn't allow dissent, and people aren't allowed to live freely. And so when you're telling those stories, that felt very, very close. I think also politics in general, and outside of Russia, and perhaps on some of the shores closer, that we have politicians who are happy to lie to get what they want, and to almost sort of feed people false narratives of what the world is, to achieve their ends. And so that too felt very poignant. Yeah.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you, and Mary,
Thank you.
Ben, and Amor.
Thank you.
And thank you so much.